Now that we're familiar with what slope-intercept form looks like, which is y equals mx plus b, now we need to come up with some steps for turning some information into an equation of the form y equals mx plus b. So the first step is we know we're going to need an m and a b. Eventually, that's what we're going to need to write our equation. So the first step is always find the slope if it's not already given. Some problems, they will give you the slope. Sometimes they'll give you two ordered pairs, and we have to use the slope formula to find the slope. Once we have the slope, then we're going to plug in our x value and our y value and our m into y equals mx plus b. Okay, so let's recall the x and the y right here are going to be the ordered pair that they give you. Okay, so you're going to have an ordered pair. Then we know that m is the slope. So we're going to plug in an ordered pair of the x value, a y value, and the slope. That means that b is going to be a variable. So I'm going to have to solve for b. Okay? So then finally I'm going to write my answer in y equals mx plus b form. So I'm going to have some value for m, and I'm going to have some value for b, and my answer is going to have those values in it. So it's going to be, let's say m is 2 and b is 4. My final answer would be y equals 2x plus 4. So your final equation, in your final equation, x and y should be variables, and your m and b should have values. Example 3. Find the equation of the line in slope-intercept form, then graph. So let's look at the information they've given us. They've given us an ordered pair, okay, and they've given us the slope. So again, let's think about what we're going to need. Eventually, to write an equation in the form y equals mx plus b, we're going to need the slope and we're going to need the b, okay, the y-intercept. So we're going to have to fill in the slope and we're going to have to fill in the y-intercept. So right now, we have the slope, which is awesome, but we do not have the y-intercept. So we have to figure that out. But we do have an ordered pair. We have an x value and a y value. So we can use that information and plug it in. So we have step 1 is done. We have the slope. We're moving on to step 2. So it says we're going to use y equals mx plus b. Step 2 tells us to plug in values for x, y, and b. So that's going to give me -2 equals 2/5 times 10 plus b. Okay, again, we're still on step 2. It says once you've plugged those in, you're going to go ahead and solve for b. So -2 equals 2/5 times 10 is 4. And then we have plus b. And we're still solving for b. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. And that's going to give me b equals -6. Okay, so now I have a value for m and I have a value for b, so I can write my equation. So my equation is y equals 2/5 x minus 6. Y equals mx plus b. Remember, I'm always filling in the m and I'm filling in the b. Now let's take a minute and graph this. Okay, when you're graphing an equation, slope-intercept form is perfect. Okay, we know the y-intercept, and we know that the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So this line is going to cross the y-axis at -6. So I'm going to start with putting a point down on the y-axis at -6. Maybe. Let's see if I can get it to work. All right, there we go. And then it says that the slope is 2/5. So from that starting point, from -6, I'm going to rise 2, and I'm going to run 5. All right? When it's positive, remember we're rising from left to right. So I'm going to go up 2 and then to the right 5 and put my new point. Whoop, not perfect. Not good with this. Sorry, guys. All right? So you're going to plot the point, -6. And then when you rise 2 and you run 5, we're now at the point 5, -4. The last step is to go ahead and connect those values, Mine is going to be terrible because I'm bad with this pen. Okay, but we just need to connect those 2 points to see the graph of that line. Example 4, write the equation of the line passing through the points -5, 1 and 2, 7 in slope-intercept form. So again, we know slope-intercept form is going to be y equals mx plus b. Okay, and so we're going to follow our steps. Step 1 says if the slope is not given, then we need to find the slope. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to label this first point, -5, 1, as my x1 and my y1. And I'm going to label this second point as my x2 and my y2. Then I'm going to find the slope. Slope formula is m equals my y2, which is 7, minus my y1, divided by my x2, which is 2, minus my x1, so minus -5. And let's go ahead and simplify that. 7 minus 1 is 6, and 2 minus a -5, we know it means plus, so 2 plus 5 is 7. Okay, so that again is step 1. Step 2 says, all right, now that I have my slope, I can go ahead and plug it into y equals mx plus b using my slope and either of the points. If they give you 2 points in the problem, you pick your favorite one. I prefer to use the point 2, 7 just because I don't like to deal with negatives. So I'm going to use 2, 7 as my point, and obviously my slope is 6 sevenths. So I'm going to plug those into y equals mx plus b. My y value is 7. My slope is 6 sevenths, and my x value is 2. And I know that b is a variable that I need to solve for. So that's going to give me 7 equals 6 sevenths times 2 gives me 12 sevenths. And then I have plus b. All right, my next step is going to be to subtract 12 sevenths from both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 12 sevenths from both sides. And you should have your calculator out, so you can go ahead and do 7 minus 12 sevenths in your calculator. Okay, and you should get that b is equal to 37 sevenths. Leave it as a fraction, no decimals here. Okay, and then step 3. Step 3 tells us to take all that information and plug it in. So we have the important parts. We have m is 6 sevenths, and we have b is 37 sevenths. And we need to plug it into y equals mx plus b. Okay, so my final equation is y equals 6 sevenths x plus 37 sevenths. Don't be scared of fractions. It's okay.